Hey, it's Ashley and Patty, and we are your co-hosts for the Phoenix Forte podcast. Join us to connect to healing and joy after divorce by chatting with phenomenal guests, fearlessly confronting hot topics, and feeling the spirit with our mic drop moments.
So jump into the flames, rise from the ashes, and be strong and loud as you hang out with us here at Phoenix Forte. Hey everyone, welcome to Phoenix Forte. We are so excited to bring this podcast to you. Patty and I have been talking about doing this podcast and doing something specifically for divorced women who are needing some support and recognizing that it's not something to be embarrassed or ashamed about for a long time. So we are really excited.
We are so excited.
We are. My name is Ashley Levitt. I'll let Patty tell you her
Patty
name.
Mitchell. Hello.
For our first couple episodes, we just wanted to introduce ourselves so you would even know who you're listening to. So this episode, we're going to learn all about Patty, about her story, a little bit about who she is and what she loves to do. And we'll talk about the song that has been most influential in her healing and chat a little about that. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everyone. Just like Ashley said, we're so excited about this and so excited to just kind of have a podcast out there just for divorced women. And it's just really exciting. So here we go. Like I said before, my name is Patty Mitchell and I am 32 years old. I was actually born in Texas, but I grew up and now live in Middle Tennessee. I am an absolutely huge lover of Jesus and football. Roll Tide, go Cowboys. Thank you, Jesus. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. I am one of three girls in my family. I'm what I call a triple threat because I'm a middle child, a military brat, and a pastor's kid. So my mom is a pastor and my dad is a retired Air Force. So, but I always say that my greatest blessings in my life call me Auntie Patty. I have a niece, Peyton, and she's 11, and a nephew, Parker, who's 6, and they are just everything. My closest companion is my hound dog, Rocky, and we are best friends. I know I'm biased, but he literally is the smartest dog I have ever met in my life. In my free time, my favorite things to do are hiking, puzzles, hanging with friends and family, playing games. Playing cards is pretty much all my family does, and we love it. So currently, I am in the process of finishing up coaching school and launching my very own coaching business. My Christ-centered coaching practice will mainly serve those who either have or are going through betrayal trauma or have substance abuse disorder. So I'm also qualified like in the general areas of life coaching in many different areas. So, but then I'll probably announce more information about that in the future. So we'll get there at a later time. Okay. And then I also just completed a class to be a certified peer recovery specialist and recently became an In Our Own Voice presenter for the state of Tennessee. And it just kind of will take me around to different populations and organizations of people to just like focus on the truths of mental illness. So anyways, that's a little bit about me.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second.
Yes.
Just to reiterate how incredible you are. Any of the listeners, you may or may not have interacted with us. You may or may not have any idea who we are, but Patty is someone that I just think is so incredible. Her healing journey, her betrayal trauma story, and her healing journey, but then just like who you are, Patty. I just think you're amazing. Your goals and your drive that you have and this passion that you have and how you've done coaching school and all these things. I just think you're incredible. And I'm so excited to do this podcast with you.
Okay. Thank you so much for saying that. And can I say just a bit of like our relationship, how we met? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ashley in another life was actually a therapist of mine. And she just impacted my healing journey immensely. And she means the world to me. And I am blown away, honored, and humbled that I have an opportunity to do a podcast like this with her. She is like one of my heroes, and I just love her so. So yeah, so excited. Okay, guys, I get really nervous and I'm gonna be just like probably reading through my story. You may hear like papers rustling or I may look a little funny on the camera, but this is my first time, so just bear with me. Okay, let's get into it. Okay. I got married in December of 2016 and our marriage was anything but working. I was thoroughly convinced that our like toxic and disastrous marriage was strictly like a result of me, like in general and my health. I happen to live with two really painful chronic illnesses, endometriosis and Lyme disease, and they come with their own challenges. Some of these challenges affect my ability to take a shower by myself, care for myself independently. There have been harsh side effects of pain medications and a lot of isolation because there were times where I was completely bedridden. So, around my birthday in September of 2017, I discovered some pornography searches on a device in our home for the first time. And I had no reason to believe that there was any sort of like issue or problem, like addiction issue or anything like that going on because I had known him like a year and a half at that point. And this is the first time I was ever discovering anything like this. So, also right before this, I had been hospitalized for a few weeks. So, these searches had occurred while I was going through that. So my brain was in a place to give and provide grace. I wasn't in a mindset of like thinking that anything else was going on or anything like that. Although that was the case, I did immediately put into place some boundaries around like daily check-ins and requested, begged really and pleaded that whatever he do, just please don't lie to me. At that time, I obviously completely unaware, did not have the full picture of what was going on. All my health issues were continuing to worsen as my marriage continued. I totally believed our problems had to be my fault and that I must be a monster, dragging everyone and everything around me down. I allowed the lies about myself that I was being told to become my beliefs. And some of those lies included, but were not limited to, that I was a worthless partner, that I ruin everyone's lives around me, including his, by being such a burden, that I was mean and impatient, and that I would be a horrible mother one day. Around the fall of 2019, my then husband came out that he is someone who struggles with a pornography addiction. As I began to discover bits and pieces of what had gone on, it was evidently clear that reality is far from what I was living in our last 3 years of marriage. I shattered into a million pieces on the floor what felt like numerous times. It was as if someone like, turned my whole life upside down, and I questioned everything and everyone. Trust became like this very like distant foreign concept that I no longer understood. I actually had somebody use an example one time I heard on a podcast say that women who experience this, or anybody I guess who experiences this, that they don't even question, is the sky really blue? Because it just seems like everything in your life you thought was real is not, and so everything falls into question. Um, I was so lost that I wasn't even consciously aware of how much abuse was happening when it was happening. I still desperately with everything in me wanted it to work. We tried therapy and I started to take better care of myself. Although at this time I had received a very strong and clear prompting by God to throw for divorce. I just could not do that. I couldn't do it. So I just told God I needed 1 year. And I begged, pleaded, hoped, and prayed that in that 1 year things would get better. So just needed 12 months. Dear God, please give me 12 months. Anyways, the abuse and lies only continued, and in many of the ways they just worsened. It was hell on earth. With a common phrase that people who have experienced this have probably heard is it was hell on earth with a death of thousand disclosures, refusal to respect boundaries, and refusal to get completely honest. I was enduring a wide variety of abuses, but the worst for me was gaslighting in the form of denial and gaslighting in the form of blame. My darkest moment included suicidal ideation and just begging God to take me in my sleep because I just didn't know how much longer I could survive the pain of it all. Around the spring of 2020, I began to like tangibly feel in my brain that something was different and seemed really off with me. I had this feeling as if I was drowning, attempting, or even like the thought of attempting the simplest tasks would send me like into a complete panic attack. It's like as if a dark cloud had just like come over me and there was like nothing I could do to get it to pass. It was eventually discovered then that I had developed depression and anxiety disorder as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, gotta take a breather here.
How you doing?
Doing okay?
Yeah.
Doing okay. Okay.
I'm going to comment for
Yes.
just a
Okay.
second while you take a breath.
Yes.
I will have some video up for podcasts, but for anyone who's just listening, I don't know if it's as tangible hearing as it is watching, but the just pure emotion that comes with reliving some of these things, if you've ever experienced them and wondered if you're crazy, hopefully hearing this kind of emotion and these kind of experiences coming from Patty lets you know that you're not crazy and you're not alone in this experience. And I've come to view emotions as a gift from God. And when we experience them, they're sacred. And so this moment with Patty and your emotions that are coming here, I just wanted to thank you for sharing that kind of sacred experience with us and having and experiencing some emotions. And just let you know that I really appreciate it.
No, thanks, Ashley, so much. Your support definitely helps getting through this. And if there's even one woman or one male who is listening to this and has gone through anything like this, and it makes you feel an ounce of normalcy, it's worth it. Every second of this is totally worth it. Okay.
You're doing great. All right. Let's hear
Nice.
some.
Thanks. Okay, so at this time, I confided in like a really close family friend everything that was going on. And she, I believe, divine intervention happened, and she connected me with a therapist who then worked for and asked me to be a part of this free women's program. It was like a group therapy program, and it was free, and it was for other women who were facing similar adversity and circumstances to me. So I did join that group and started group therapy in October of 2019, which ultimately did lead me to being seen by a psychiatrist, which is when I received the mental health diagnosis as well. And a year later, in October of 2020, I decided to start listening to the Lord, and I filed for divorce. And to this day, I know and stand firm that it was a decision inspired by God, and I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation for that choice. I had a best friend at the time who really showed me that I could do it, and she was such an inspiration and a massive help to me. She is no longer here with us, but we will save that for another episode in the future. But I do thank God daily for her and her example in my life. Something that really helped me at first was accepting that first I had a real mental illness, just like anyone else who has an illness, and that choosing healthy and the life God intended for me by divorcing this man, like, I had to stop making myself bad or wrong for any of it. I just had to take that first step of deciding to accept that what reality was and what I had been living in. Changing my mindset and reframing my perspective of my whole situation really benefited me. My faith, I think, helps me more than anything else. It's not even I think, I know. It for sure helps me more than anything else. And really just realizing for me personally that with mental and physical illness and going through all this trauma, that God is actually who defines me and nothing or no one else does. And believing that, truly believing that, not just hearing, but actually believing it, provided me great relief and freedom to move forward in my healing journey. I have a massive support network of women who are so incredible. I could not have possibly imagine that there are these many like mind-blowing, incredible women that even exist in the world, much less get to be a part of my life. So reaching out to them in difficult moments and reaching back to those who reach out to me when they are struggling has really enhanced my recovery. For me, validation, compassion, and empathy from others is a really big way I feel supported and gain strength in the beginning while doing almost anything. And I mean like cleaning, sitting at home, doing a puzzle, driving a car, no matter what I was doing, I was listening to podcasts about betrayal trauma, about recovery, about divorce, about pornography. I mean, all of it. I was just like, I could not get enough of the information in me. And I still to this day love to listen to a recovery related podcast, and I try to do it just about every single day. So at least one episode is something. So I also attend weekly group therapy, and I have open and honest psychiatry appointments every month. I do take medication as I am prescribed it, and I also did and still meet with, when needed, my personal coach as well. The combination of group therapy as well as my own individual affordable coach truly changed everything, everything for me, even specifically the individual coach I had and getting with Ashley. It just changed everything. I attend church twice weekly, and one of those is for a recovery service that is amazing. And I feel so connected, cared for, loved, supported, and everything within that community. And I love it. One of the most crucial parts of my joyous healing and recovery journey is the daily intentional practice of self care. I love to do a puzzle, fold laundry, hike, spend some time with my dog, cleaning floors, playing games, etc. self-care not only aids me in actually like caring for myself, but I can also see that it grows my capacity for handling all of life's challenges as they come. I have read many books now, which I actually hate reading, but I've been so grateful and thankful for the true indescribable power that the knowledge has given me from those books. So yeah, that's really what's been helping me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Patty, for sharing your story and your journey and these things that have been helpful for you along it. For the next few minutes, I just want to kind of chat with you and ask you some questions, if you're okay with that. And then we'll talk about the song that has been influential for you and your healing.
Okay.
My first question for you is, you mentioned your endometriosis and your Lyme disease. And I'm
Yes.
really, really glad that you did, because I just think there's so many chronic illnesses and so many unseen illnesses that kind of get skipped over. But what you've felt and what you've experienced both physically and mentally has been an important part of your journey. And so I would just really appreciate you
Yes.
being open with that and talking about that. I am so curious what you have learned from those chronic illnesses that has helped you in your journey or that has hindered you in your journey. What has it been like specifically with that? What have you learned about yourself or your life or your God as you've processed
Yes.
those?
That is an excellent question, Ashley, and I'm glad that you asked me. I'm gonna start with hinder first and then kinda go from there. So, for me in my situation, especially dealing with the physical illnesses, I've just really trapped in my situation, like, what would I do? I couldn't work at the time, so I'm like, "What am I gonna do? How am I gonna support myself?" All of that because I was stuck laying in a bed. I couldn't do anything, so I was so dependent upon another person, and so, like, not only emotionally, but physically. I was so dependent on another person. And so that really, I feel anyways, did hinder me in some ways. However, I would also say that it gave me, I don't know if superpower is the exact right word, but it gave me a lot of strength, like a ton of strength, like what feels like superpower strength because it was provided by God. Going through those illnesses throughout my life just gave me a certain set of skills and strength to I think handle the adversity that God knew was coming my way one day. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. That superhuman strength, that superpower strength. I love the picture of that and how what we experience can really provide us with that kind of strength that we didn't know we had without that experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really wanted to highlight, you were talking about how you were just begging, please don't lie to me. And I just want to highlight that piece because so many women that I interact with, what they say is that it wasn't so much the betrayal that hurt, it was the blatant lies and the deceit and the complete shattering of trust over and over and over again. And so I just wanted to highlight that that's where you started to get choked up a little bit, because really the pain comes from this person that you're supposed to be able to trust, that promised you could trust forever. And then now it's so opposite of what you were expecting.
Yes. Yeah. And when that trust is broken, and how do I say this? There's not an overwhelming amount of movement to restore it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a low point. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said it even hit to like, is the sky even blue? Can I trust any of the things that I've experienced with? I think it's fairly common to hear things like, oh, I've got to grieve the loss of this relationship. I've got to grieve the loss of the future I thought I would have. But with betrayal trauma, and especially stories that often lead toward divorce because of how intense that trauma is, what we don't talk about very often is this grieving the loss of the past that I thought I had experienced, grieving the loss of just knowing knowing things like the sky is blue, knowing who I am and what I can trust, and knowing being able to trust that my relationship up to this point has been what I thought it was. But that completely shifts too.
Oh, yeah, shatters. Oh, yeah, completely shatters, and it's like you have to then move into a place of accepting a reality of what you really were experiencing different from what you thought you were experiencing, and it's not a pretty reality, and it's not one that you like. You're like, "Oh, no, 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 we're not go no, no, I don't want that one."
Let's
But
just put all of those
it's
shapes back on. Yeah.
yes, it's reality, so there's, like, no way around it, so it's just yes, and I remember too even, like, I didn't know who I could trust because this is a person who I committed to for all of eternity, not
Yeah.
just, like, until death do us part, so this is a person I'm spending eternity with, and if I can't trust this person, how
Yeah.
can I trust anyone else? Like, is my family really who they say they are? Like, can I really trust what they say? Can I like, I remember even my best friends really second guessing, like, certain things they would say and do, and it just kinda made me not paranoid, but just, like, it just that trust was a important
Yeah.
concept in every aspect of my life.
Yes, in every aspect. It's your trust schema, right? Your brain uses schema, a framework to quickly understand things. And when the experience that you have doesn't fit anywhere in there, it shatters the whole trust across the board, which brings me to my next question, actually. That across the board, entirely, you don't even know what trust is. It's a foreign concept. And quite often in this space where I don't even know who to trust, what trust is, what ends up happening is also a crisis of faith and trusting God and becoming angry at Him and where He's led me to be. And I think that faith crisis is a really important part of recovery, not an abnormal, scary thing. Anyone who's in that, like, it's an important piece, and it makes logical sense because your brain can't trust anything. And so, as you were talking, what you spoke about was how important faith was in your journey and how the only reason you're okay is because your God has led you here. And I'm curious if you experienced a faith crisis at any point and what that was like for you.
Yes, and this may be a little bit longer of an answer to this question, but I am very glad that you asked it, and it is important to me to share this part. Yes, and I would say that mine came later than expected. I think that through going through chronic illnesses, actually, I really never was angry at God for anything that I experienced in relation to. Then I went through this experience and that changed. And I always knew I could be angry at God. Like I knew, like it had been told to me that he can handle that and all those good things, but I had never personally experienced being angry or even like associating any hurt to be caused by him or any, like it was just very, and so I think it took me a while to kind of navigate through that. And then at that same time, for me personally, for the, how do I say this? For the religious institution I was attending at the time, for experiences we can leave for another episode, I was experiencing and also hearing from others experience and because really of my own experience, really in my marriage, it's really hard to feel safe in a church building, but really of any kind, actually. Um, but especially in that one. And it's something to this day that I'm still working through. However, there have been, if it's okay, many tools that have helped me. So I know we're kind of like running through this, everybody. But so I just wanna, like, throw out a couple tools that did help me and have helped me with that. If you're at all struggling with this whatsoever, whatever it was that helped me the most is that not forcing myself to attend church, not forcing myself to be there, not forcing myself to understand or follow certain things that, like, weren't really feeling safe or right for me. Also, talking to my individual coach about that and really, really diving deep into what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling this way. And I'm still diving deep into what my beliefs really are and where those align and all those kinds of things. So that was also huge. And then also attending church, what helped me was, I had a little trauma kit is what I called it on my phone, and I'm just gonna tell the Ashleys who taught me this. It's like of pictures and Bible verses and all different things that I can just flip through, and I just had to put in my mind that what everybody else thinks around me is none of my business, and I'm gonna sit here, and if this is what I need to do to get through church, to get through and to be in this building, then this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I believe is right. And anyway, so all those things, like, really, really helped me is just allowing a lot of space for grace for myself, talking to an individual coach, and having a trauma kit I could access right on my phone. Yeah.
I love that. I'm so glad that you brought in the tools because I think those are so important. And the tools that you brought in of just getting to know who I am and what really resonates as truth for me and where do I find my truth and space for grace. I feel like we can have a t-shirt that just says space for grace. That piece. It's okay for me to not be perfect and to be figuring things out as I go. And then that trauma kit. Church triggers are a real thing. And so giving yourself like on my phone, I'm going to cue into these things that bring me peace, that bring me joy, that that
Comfort.
trigger those other kind of emotions that I was hoping to experience at church that I'm not is so powerful. Since we're talking about it, my last tool that I always used was there's always one room that's like quiet. And so when I was getting really activated with triggers or frustrations or nerves or social anxiety, I thought everyone was looking at me and, oh, she's walking in by herself type of thing. I would go to my trauma kit on my phone, but then sometimes that wasn't enough. So I'd need to get up and move. And I would get up and move to just a quiet space in the building. And in my partner's bill of rights, one of the things that I have is I have the right to be spiritually edified every Sunday, regardless of what's being presented. And so I would take that upon myself of just, I'm going to go to a quiet space and I'm going to dig in to what will bring me edification because today is Sunday and today I get to worship and today I get to feel spiritually edified, regardless of everything else. And so if it's feeling triggering or too much for me, I would remove myself from that situation and find my own quiet place where I got to worship the way that I needed.
Right, right, and actually, as you said, that reminded me of something else that someone taught me was something that a mindset that I would go into church with was that me and God are just visiting today. So God walks into that building with me and he also walks out with me. No one gets to take that away from me. No one gets to say I can take him with me or anything like that. That I walk into that building and we walk out together. So
That's right.
that was also something that really helped me. Yeah, that me and God are gonna go visit church today. And then we're
Yes.
gonna leave together.
I love
He's
that
gonna be
so
with me the
much.
whole time. We're visiting together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
Right there
something that
by my
definitely.
side. I'm not walking in alone. I'm walking in with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. The last thing I just wanted to highlight, and then I want to know all about your song, is you were just mentioning like some of my needs are to be validated and blah, 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 blah. And so often that like need for validation from an external source is kind of frowned upon. Like that's not a thing that we should have. And I loved how you just stated it as a fact and a thing that you know about yourself. And my assumption going along with it is that you know where to turn to get the validation that you're needing. So you've learned this about yourself, that this is something that you need, and you turn to trusted sources who will be able to come in and bring you that validation and how important it is to just know our needs. Not all people are going to need that validation, but for you to know a need that you have and to know where you can go get that met, I think is really cool.
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up and highlighted that a little bit because that piece is so important that the validation, compassion, empathy from others is from safety and trusted others, you know? And I don't need out external validation. I've learned and grown, and it's a beautiful thing that I don't have to have that anymore. But I've also learned that I don't have to do this life alone.
Yeah.
And that if I'm needing some validation in something I'm going through, I know exactly who I can turn to and say, hey, I'm really needing some validation in this right now. Yeah.
Yes.
And if
Beautiful.
it comes down to it in a crisis, I can validate myself, but then it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Jesus can validate me, and it's amazing.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
So,
But you know where you can
yeah.
turn
Yes,
to
yes,
just
yes,
get a second pair of eyes
yes,
on it
for
and say,
sure.
no, you're right. You got this. Very cool. Okay. Tell us about your song.
Okay, so my song is a song by an artist named Riley Clemmons, and actually her music, there's several of her songs that have really helped me actually throughout my journey. And this one specifically, though, I felt like with the lyrics, it just hit dead on in so many ways and just applied to my story. And it always, like, as I'm starting to talk about right now, I can already feel the emotions rising in me because that's really like it just applies, just the lyrics, and we'll go through them and every little piece of this song. It just really, yeah, it's so helpful and it's something I was listening to right as I was going through my experience. And anyway, so it's just, yeah, it's a big one. So the song I chose is called Healing by Riley Clemmons. And I'm just gonna kind of like pull out some of the phrases throughout this song and just kind of cover those and how those apply specifically to my story. But she starts in the beginning and she just says, "Saw the end of the tunnel, didn't think that I could make it out, got so used to the dark, I was scared of what the light would do now." And that was huge for me. It's like that whole journey of not wanting to accept reality. It was like shining light on what was really happening. And I was really scared about what that was going to do, you know, what that meant for my life moving forward. She then goes on to say, I couldn't piece me back together with some band aids and a roll of tape. Wishing there was something, it says, believing there was something better. I just had to take a leap of faith, is what she says. And this is what the chorus says. It says, I'm healing. I'm here unashamed. I found strength through the pain. What was broken is standing again, and I'm healing. Okay, so then she goes into the next verse and it talks about giving herself grace and that she started to begin to feel the change. And that part of the song for me is definitely when got into recovery and really started to feel like this. She even says in the song, I let love flood my heart. And that really was what it was. Not only like love for myself, but love for life, love for the adversity and the difficult things I was going through, gratitude for that, all of those things. And she actually says, she said that I'm slowly learning to be grateful, found some purpose in all the hurt, and now I'm rediscovering what I'm worth. Just takes one step to turn the tables, but I had to take it first. And that is just so true for me that God was telling me the whole time, where I know there are a ton of women, I've heard their stories that they really struggle to get an answer and all those kinds of things. And in my story, I had an answer. I had it loud and clear. I just did not want that answer. and I wanted to resist it at all, like, as much as possible, but through embracing it, look at me now.
Wow.
You know? So I would love to share with you what's next in my journey and kind of what's all happening now and kind of where this all has brought me.
Patty, thank you so much for sharing this song with us. The lyrics are truly beautiful, and it sounds like it almost fully embodies your entire journey. That it we see the music form of what it is that you experience. I especially love that light about or that line about getting so used to the dark that you're scared about the light, because just psychologically, our brain really hates change. And so the idea of, oh, maybe I am in a marriage that's supposed to end is scary. And the idea of acting on that and making any kind of change can be so scary. It's kind of like that light is scary because I've been so used to the dark. And I love how it ends up being this really beautiful, transformative song and experience that you've had after finding the courage to follow what the light is suggesting you do. It's just beautiful. I would love to know more about what you're doing now. Where's your life going?
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm actually gonna go to the bridge of the song. It says, I keep getting stronger, won't stay down no longer, started to breathe again, learned to believe again. And as I showed in my story, even with my faith crisis, that just all applies. So now I'm just gonna get into kind of what life looks like for me now. Okay. I have come finally to accept that healthy is not a finish line. It's just a journey and a daily process. I chose healthy and the life God intended for me and stand here today, loud, proudly divorced from my unhealthy, abusive marriage. I am so grateful for the powerful freedom that forgiveness has provided me. I grieved and lost so much, but I absolutely gained that much more. I have nothing but pure gratitude at this point for every ounce of my experience. I wish no ill will upon this person in any way, and 100% believe he is a precious child of God and deserves all the things in life if he chooses to value himself enough to get them. I truly believe that. I was married to a sick person, not a bad person. I am now fully capable of caring for myself and my dog independently. Some days, taking a shower is a victory. Other days, getting through a 12-hour shift and getting over 15,000 steps is a victory. But I try to celebrate all the victories, big or small. My coach taught me that. It builds confidence. So that's what I try to do. I can ask for help when I need it, and I can also provide myself with the love and grace that I deserve as I move through each difficult and non-difficult seasons of my very full life. I have and continue to take classes relating to healthy relationships versus unhealthy relationships, values, boundaries, dating after divorce, learning to love my body again, and so on and so on and so on. I am finishing life coaching school to give back to this mental health community that has truly it's given me my life back. I mean, it's given me my life back. I want to help women who have experienced what I did as well as were with addicts to show them how fulfilling and serene life can be if they really want it. I want to continue sharing my story and my experiences because each time I share, a little more healing comes. And my mom, she runs a nonprofit that serves or involves inner city kids, addicts and alcoholics, and a catering company. And I love every part of it. I find so much love, fulfillment, all of it working with the whole community. And so I really am thoroughly, thoroughly enjoying that right now. I hope to launch my own coaching business soon. And genuinely, I just want to build a recovery empire for God's glory and for the strength and hope of others. Like that's really what it is, you know? My life now is it's nothing like I could have possibly described or imagined it would be. I heard in a talk once that God had an unimaginable plan for my life, and that truth has been proven day in and day out since I chose to leave. No day is perfect, and it's a one day at a time process. I am happy, I am free, and I thank God that I am divorced and get to live the life I never thought would ever be possible. What's next for me is ultimately continuing to move forward, striving to live a healthy life and build healthy relationships with others as well as with myself. I just cannot wait to see what God has in store for my future, and I want him to use me in like whatever ways he wishes. I just want him to move me around, do whatever he wants. So yeah.
Amazing. Patty, your story, your vision of your future, your acceptance, your brightness, and your happy and your demeanor, all of these things are just so incredible. And I'm so excited to be doing this together so that I can watch all of those things come together in your future. Go to the description. We're going to link Patty's beautiful healing song in the description. We'll link
Yeah.
ways to connect with her in the description. And then join us again in their next episode, and we'll continue to get to know Patty in all of these cool ways.
Yes. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, until next episode, that you are not crazy and you are not alone. And we're so happy to have you as a Phoenix Forte listener. See ya. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We would love to hear from you. Please connect with us on social media at Phoenix Forte Pod, POD. Feel free to send us any questions or comments on Instagram.